Alright, so we're going to talk about vitamins today, and in particular, their solubility and what it is that makes them soluble, how that, well, not so much how that affects them, but the implications of their solubility. Now, first off, we need to discuss what a macronutrient and a micronutrient is. Now, lipids, proteins, carbohydrates, sugars, these are all macronutrients, and what that means is that we need them in large quantities. And by large quantities, macro meaning, large, we can measure them in grams. So measure them in grams per day. So, and these are used for energy generally, except for fiber. Now, fiber is also a macronutrient, but it's not used for energy. It's basically used to, keep you regular, to make sure you poo correctly. If you don't have enough fiber, you'll have runny poo. If you don't have enough fiber, if you still have enough fiber and it's not runny, what it's going to make is constipation. Both of those are due to a lack of fiber, and depends on the person. Now, vitamins and minerals, but we're sort of going to ignore minerals. They're micronutrients, which means they're really measured in small amounts. So they're measured either in milligrams, which is a thousandth of a gram, or actually a better way to draw that would be, thousandth, or a microgram, which is this one, and they tend to be millionths of a gram. Well, not tend to be, that's exactly what they are. So, millionths of a gram. You know what I mean. Mm-hmm. Now, nutrients, they tend to be coenzymes, so therefore specific metabolic tasks in the body. Okay. Generally, though, they're unable to be produced by an organism, with the exception of vitamin D, and we must get them in our food. All right. So there are 14 vitamins, and we'll come back to this list in a minute. You have vitamins A, and then there are 8 different vitamin B complexes. Complex means they join up with something else. And then you've got C, D, E, and K, which is, a surprise. Probably a good idea for you to tabulate the individual vitamins and their food sources, the function in the body, and any associated toxic effects. I don't know where you'd find any information like that. Maybe in one big table that already exists in your textbook. I don't know, but good luck with that. Now, this is what they look like, okay? So, some of these are generally what we're dealing with, and I want you to pay attention to all of these hydroxide groups on vitamin C, but then have a look at vitamin D, and there's only one. Vitamin A only has one, okay? Now, as we talked about earlier, those hydroxide groups tend to give polarity to it. So the more hydroxide groups, that's just a bell, the more hydroxide groups, the more polar the chemical tends to be. When you've got your just one of them, it's not a very polar molecule. All right, so we've got the water-soluble vitamins. This in particular is vitamin C, or ascorbic acid. You'll notice there are many OH groups. So it's a very polar molecule. Again, water as a polar molecule will dissolve other polar molecules. So it's soluble in water. You can't have too much of it. And this is generally true for all water-soluble ones. If you have too much of it, it tends to be excreted in the urine, so it doesn't build up. It must form a regular part of our diet. If it doesn't form a regular part of the diet, you will get sick very, very quickly because it's not stored in the body. And generally there's no toxic side effects, as too much of it is, as I said, just excreted out of the body. Now, the fat-soluble molecules are vitamins. You'll notice that they're not very polar. There are very, very few OH groups at all, and yeah, they tend to be not polar. So we've got vitamin A, D, K, E, and there are a couple of D vitamins. Now, well, a couple of versions of it. There are limited OH groups, which means they're largely non-polar. They're insoluble in water, but they are fat soluble. So what that means is urine, which is mostly water, they're not excreted. They're not excreted in urine. They get stored in the body fat, which means if you don't have any for a while, you've still got some you can pull on, get stored. So you can tolerate not having some for a little while. However, these are the vitamins that give us toxic effects. Now, if we go back to just before here you see an orange. That is the way you should get your vitamins. The problem with dosing up, mega dosing from, say, multivitamins or vitamin tablets is that, one, they're largely not bioavailable, so you need to have a lot more, and two, the ones which are non-soluble, which are your vitamin A, D, E, K, they will build up in your fat cells, and that can lead to toxicity. All right, so that's vitamins. Thank you for paying attention. Stay rad, and we will see each other in class.